Flour, 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 flour. Water, salt, honey, butter, sourdough. Alright, once you have all those ingredients, you're going to pour in 1 1/4 cup of water. And this is a recipe to make sandwich sourdough bread, so it's going to be a little more fluffier than your traditional sourdough. You're going to get 1/4 stick of butter. And then the beloved sourdough, it's going to be 1/2 cup of sourdough. And then you're going to get your honey. 1 tablespoon of honey. A good tip is to put oil in your spoon before you pour the honey. It makes it come out a lot easier. Obviously, I did not do that because it's drizzling from the spoon. But it works. Okay, and then you're going to get your whisk and whisk it all up. You're going to want it to be the consistency, it's going to get very frothy, and there's going to be lots of little bubbles. Then you're going to do 1/2 tablespoon of salt. Be careful with the Himalayan salt. It seems to be a lot more potent than the other salt. You're just going to whisk all that in real quick. And then you're going to start off with a cup of flour and slowly work it in. Let all that liquid soak into the flour. Alright, so once you've got that cup in, go ahead and start adding your 2nd cup of flour. Get your stand mixer ready, and you're going to go ahead and work what you've poured in from the flour. You're just going to work that in. This can be done by hand. It's just a lot more time consuming. Getting a stand mixer definitely helps out a whole lot. But if you want a nice workout, go ahead and do it by hand. Alright, so right now I'm finishing that 2nd cup and starting the 3rd cup of flour. Just slowly working these layers in of flour. Alright, now I'm starting to put in the 3rd to 4th cup of flour and just letting it work in. So you want to start your stand mixer on the slowest setting. That way you're not ripping the gluten to shreds. You just want to start really nice and slow. That way it can get a nice fold. And here I'm using the spatula to scrape it from the sides because it will stick to the sides. And the flour sometimes will also just lay at the bottom. With the spatula you can kind of scoop it up and work it through the mixer. And that's what I'm doing right now. You're just going to want to keep folding it in with that little spatula. Here I'm testing the dough and it is way too sticky still. That will not do very well once you are ready to fold it and put it in the oven. Here I'm adding that 4th cup of flour. I'm slowly this is all kind of by judgment. It depends on how your sourdough is. Depends on your climate, if you live in a dry, humid climate. So you're just going to want to work in your either 4th to 5th cup of flour. Like I said, it depends with each and every person in their sourdough. Today I'm using that 4th cup. Sometimes I've almost gotten away without using the 4th cup, but today I am. Alright, once it's nice and mixed in, you can see it is no longer sticky. That's a wonderful sign. Go ahead and grab your dough and sprinkle some flour on the counter. And you're going to finish it off by kneading it with your hands just for about 3 to 5 minutes. I find this just kind of sets it up for a good overnight process and a nice rise. It just kind of gets its last formation in from being in the stand mixer for about 15 minutes. But now it is almost ready to go. Just going to keep working it in for a little while longer. Alright, once you've kneaded it, you're going to get your bowl. Cover it up with some cling wrap or a wet towel, and you're going to let it sit overnight for about 12 hours. Alright, it's the next day. Going to go ahead and take your dough out from your bowl, and you're going to start forming it to get into shape. It is a much softer, more Play-Doh consistency. You're going to just kind of get it ready for its last time being kneaded. Get it ready to form into that loaf shape. Alright, once you've kneaded it, you're going to roll it up. You're going to pinch the sides. You can kind of tuck them under so when it's baking, it doesn't completely pop out from the sides. It's kind of going to remind you of a pig in a blanket, just that shape. Try to get all the creases tucked in and underneath the bread. You're going to get your greased loaf pan. I grease mine with avocado oil. Just put your dough in there, kind of even it out to where it's pretty equal on each side. You're going to go ahead and cover it again for another 3 to 4 hours, just until it's doubled in size, kind of like this. You can have let it sit a little bit longer than I did, and it would have probably risen a hair bit more, but I thought it was nice in time for it to bake. I preheated my oven to 375, and I'm going to crank the time up to about 45 minutes. All right, the smell that's coming from this is absolutely amazing. You're going to go ahead and get your bread, and it is nice and hot. Be careful, just lay it on something so it can cool. And then I'm going to top mine with some butter just to keep the crust from absolutely becoming way too hard. This also gives it a nice just little finishing flavor. Just go ahead and cover the whole top of the bread. Yes, it is still hot, but people were hungry and we were ready to cut into it. I would advise let it cool for at least an hour before you cut into it, but it is perfectly still fine if you eat it hot. My husband's cutting it because he's got way more steady hand than I do. But this is the recipe on how to make your very own sandwich sourdough bread.